In the heart of the vibrant city of Baghdad lived a young man named Sindbad. He had inherited an immense fortune from his father, but a love for lavish parties and a life of ease quickly depleted his wealth. Finding himself completely broke, Sindbad decided there was no other option but to rebuild his fortune. He sold the last of his furniture, and with the money he bought the finest goods: rare spices, exotic perfumes, and dazzling silk fabrics. Sindbad took his goods to the port of Basra, where he found a large ship with white sails gleaming in the sun. He boarded and met its captain, Rashid, an old man with white hair and the wisdom of years etched on his face. The ship sailed across the open sea, and the days passed as they traveled from port to port and from one island to another. Sindbad was a skilled merchant. He bought and sold, earning a great deal of money, and felt that life was beginning to smile on him again. One day, while in the middle of the vast ocean, they spotted a beautiful, green island in the distance, like a paradise that was not on any of their charts. Captain Rashid grabbed his spyglass and looked at it with bewilderment. The merchants on the ship were thrilled by the sight and asked Captain Rashid if they could go ashore to rest and explore. Although Captain Rashid had a bad feeling about it, he agreed to their request. The merchants went ashore and lit a fire to cook their food. Sindbad left them and decided to take a walk alone to enjoy the beauty of the island, which was filled with giant trees and flowers, the likes of which he had never seen before. Suddenly, without any warning, the ground shook violently beneath their feet. It was as if the entire island was trembling. The merchants fell to the ground in fright, and screams filled the air. Captain Rashid, who was still on the ship, understood the horrifying truth and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Get back on board immediately! This is not an island. It's a giant whale that has been sleeping for thousands of years, and your fire has woken it up." The island began to sink rapidly into the water, and the ocean raged around it. The merchants dropped everything and ran towards the ship, screaming and trying to save themselves from drowning. Unfortunately, Sindbad was deep inside the island and did not hear the captain's warning. The ship had to pull away quickly to avoid being sunk as well, and it sailed away, leaving Sindbad behind to his unknown fate. The giant whale dived into the depths of the ocean, creating a massive whirlpool that pulled everything towards it. Sindbad was thrown into the high waves that crashed against him from all sides. Just as Sindbad was about to give up, he spotted a large wooden basin, one of the cooking utensils, floating on the water. He swam towards it and held on with all his might. It was his only lifeline. Sindbad clung to the piece of wood for a whole day and night, alone in the middle of the ocean. The sun burned him during the day, and the cold bit at his body at night until he began to lose all hope of survival. With the first light of the next day's sun, the waves threw Sindbad onto the shore of a real island. He was so tired that he couldn't get up, and he lay on the sand until he regained some of his strength. When he was able to stand, he went inland and discovered that the island was full of bounty. He found a spring of fresh water and trees bearing all kinds of fruit. He ate and drank and thanked God for saving him. As he was exploring the island, he saw something huge and white in the distance, shaped like a giant white dome. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to go and see what it was. Suddenly, the sky darkened as if night had fallen, and when he looked up, he saw an incredibly enormous bird descending from the sky. The bird landed on the white dome, and Sindbad discovered that it was the bird's egg. It was the legendary roc. A crazy idea to escape the island came to Sindbad. He waited until the roc was asleep, then unwound his long turban and carefully tied himself to the bird's massive leg. At sunrise, the roc awoke and flew into the sky, lifting Sindbad with it. Sindbad found himself flying above the clouds, not knowing where his next adventure would take him.